Hey everybody, welcome to the next video. We're going to be talking about migrating to Iceberg. So sort of what are the tools and strategies you have available to you to move your Iceberg tables from, Hive or some other place to Iceberg. So let's pretend that you have like existing Parquet files that are part of a Hive table, okay? And bottom line, it has to be generally, if you have a Hive table, it needs to be Parquet, Avro, ORC files for it to be able to switch over to Iceberg if you want to use the existing data files. Okay, so the idea here is we're going to be talking about the procedure called migrate. And the beauty of migrate is that you don't have to rewrite or move any files. Any files you have that are part of the existing Hive table can stay exactly where they are. And this comes back to like the benefit of Iceberg being completely detached from the directory layout of the files. It just needs to know where the files are. So when you do migrate, what it does, it's going to just basically write metadata. That's it. It's not writing any data files, just metadata to include all the files that are already part of the existing Hive table as part of this new Iceberg table. Now keep in mind though that the Hive table is then no longer a thing. Essentially that gets removed from the catalog and you're left with basically the Iceberg equivalent, which is totally fine. Okay, that's really what you want at the end of the day anyways. Um, and all you have to do is you use a call procedure. Okay, these call procedures you can do in SQL, so you can do this from like Spark SQL. You don't have to necessarily write out any kind of complex Python or JavaScripts. The SQL would look like this. It would just be call, then the name of the catalog, whatever you call the catalog, dot system dot migrate, and then you pass as an argument the the table to migrate. So you're saying, okay, hey, there's this table called db.sample. I want to migrate it, and then it adds that table to your Iceberg catalog. Though you generally want to make sure that everything looks the way you expect it to before you do this, because again, it's not reversible. So what you can do is you can run the snapshot procedure, and what it does, it creates a temporary. So instead of undoing the Hive table, it creates a temporary Iceberg table to show you what the result would look like. And this will allow you to kind of determine like, hey, did I do this the way I want to? You can't really write to it or anything. It's just so you can see the result. Um, but you can do that, and if the snapshot procedure, you like the result of it, then you can go do migrate. And it'd be a similar process. You just do catalog.name, again, the catalog name, dot system, dot snapshot. And then you would say, okay, hey, I want to take this table and I want you to make a snapshot called this. Okay? And essentially you're just creating this temporary, not necessarily a copy, but a temporary sort of mirror of the table. Cool. So the benefit of this is what's referred to as an in-place migration, meaning you're not writing new data files. This is going to be faster because again, you don't have to write. So if you're talking about a multi-petabyte table, you're not writing petabytes of data. Um, but you're stuck with the schema that's already in those Parquet files and whatnot. So you're essentially just moving the table over. Um, that might not be what you want. You may want to recreate the table, but you want at this point you're saying, hey, you know what? I want the partitioning to be different. I want the schema to be different. I want to rename some of the columns. There's things you want to do. Is you're saying, hey, if I'm gonna migrate this table, let me just clean up the table. Some of these things that I've been wanting to change for a while, anyways. Okay, we'll kind of get to show you an example of how you can do that. But before we do that, let's talk about what happens if you just have like sort of just loose files you want to add to a table. You have the add files procedure. So maybe you have a Parquet file with an extra like 1,000 records that you want to be part of your existing Iceberg table. Well, then you would use add files, and you would just basically say, hey, I want to take this table and I want to add this to that table. It could be a directory of files, it could be a single file. Um, the result is it just writes a new metadata, right? Creates a new snapshot with a metadata that just has these files now included in the table. Okay, so basically you can add, you don't just have to sit there and like add the data to the table, you can actually add the files. And that way it doesn't actually have to write the new files because basically you could always, do like a select, uh, you know, add data from like a select statement, but then you have to go read those Parquet files and then you're rewriting the data. The benefit of this is you're just adding those files. So all it's doing is writing the metadata that includes those files. There's no need to write a whole new Parquet file. But now, if you do want to restate the data, so you do want to make changes to your schema, you do want to, make changes, you're going to want to rewrite the table. And you can do that by using just a simple create table as statement. So you would just create a query that queries the data as you would like to create the new table, and then create a table from that query. Okay, and it would just look something like this. It would be like create table using Iceberg. This is Spark again. Partition by, and then you can specify any partitioning you'd like to do in this new table. And then you would select the query that you want. Oops, went too far back. There we go. And you would just put the query you want that has the data that you want to create the table from. So you can just then CTAS all your existing Hive tables over, and you're good to go. Okay, so you have these kind of two options. You can either rewrite the tables, or you can just use the files that already exist, but you have these options. Okay, so just to kind of recap, if I use the migrate procedure, am I writing any data files? No. Okay. Can I update the schema? No. Okay, when do I want to use this? If I want to take an existing Hive table, make it an Iceberg table as quickly as possible. Really, I'm not looking to make any changes. I just want this to be in my Iceberg catalog. Add files. You're not rewriting any data files. You're not updating any schemas. Basically, what you do is you have some Parquet files or some ORC files or Avro files you want to add to an existing Iceberg table. Okay, a CTAS, you are rewriting all the data files, but the benefit is you can update the schema, you can update the partitioning when you do that. This is good if you're moving a Iceberg table, but you do want to like evolve the table in the process. Like you do want to make changes to how that table works. So might as well just, two birds, one stone. And then there's a register table procedure. Well, it existed before 0.14, but now it exists for all catalogs as of 0.14. And essentially now what you can do is like in a JavaScript, using the Java API, you can instantiate the catalog. So you can take the catalog that you want to move a table to, and then register a metadata.json file. So this is not to move a Hive table to an Iceberg table. This is to move an Iceberg table from one catalog to another. The way it works is that you're going to say, hey, I have this catalog. I would like to register the table pointing to this metadata.json file. And it's going to treat that as the newest metadata.json file. And then basically anytime you write to that table, it's just working from that snapshot going forward, or that metadata file going forward. And the beauty of that is you get to retain your history. You get to retain all those previous snapshots, the previous schemas, partitioning. You're not creating a whole fresh set of metadata without that history. Cool. Okay, and that kind of wraps this video up. I'll see you guys in the next video where we're going to talk about time travel. See you guys there.